This is the Cliff Yates Show. Personal growth, motivation, inspiration, and philosophies for a great life.
Hey everybody, this is the Cliff Yates Show, and as always, you are in the right place. I'm very excited about today's guest, decorated combat veteran and a career service officer, someone who worked their way up from the bottom to the top, and we're going to hear about that, and someone who didn't have an easy road, and his book, A Soldier Against All Odds, totally applicable. And just amazing what he had to go through and what he went through, and just who he is today. And we're so lucky that we're going to have a conversation that you're going to benefit from. Let me bring him right on. Mr. Jason Pike, thank you for joining me, brother.
Hey, it's great to be on the show, Cliff. I'm looking forward to getting in some stories and telling you how the hell I did it.
Absolutely. Man, as I told you off camera, I got a lot of retired LA sheriff and current, and they were service members, and so I just met so many brothers in the LA sheriffs who had been in service, especially in the Marine Corps and whatnot. And so I appreciate everything you have done. And we were actually somebody hang on. We actually hired a lot of service people as they were exiting the service, but you did a full career, 31 years.
I did it from the bottom. 31 years. 9 years were overseas. I've been deployed to 5 different countries. Actually lived in 5 different countries, and yeah, it was from the bottom, but in multiple ways from the bottom. And then I just struggled and stayed on, survived, and never quit to just continue on my service. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we'll talk a little bit about, because I know at one time you were going through, not only were you like under investigation, but then your dad was passing, and then what was going on during that time of your life?
So that was probably 2010 to 2011. That was the most hellacious time. I was sort of a senior guy at that point.
Wow.
I had been thrown under the bus by my own organization as a lieutenant colonel. At that same time that was happening, my dad was dying, and also, by the way, you're going to war. And I was
Wow.
in a really bad time mentally and spiritually, everything. I could have declared mental health and probably gotten out of war. That's how bad it was at that time. And we can go there and many other places. Yeah.
Yeah. And you, and God, I know a little bit about how that feels. Yeah. What about, and when you were overseas, I like that you, even while you were deployed, you maybe for your mental and just you employed physical exercise, right? To help you mentally, or?
Sure do. I still do it to this day. But this was an accident by just circumstance. I hit bottom so much. I was in such a state of anxiety, paranoia. I was crawling on the floor just trying to get anything. Of course, yes, I drank when I was deployed, I couldn't drink. But what I did is I got in, like I always do, get into the gym like we always exercise, most of us. But then I allowed my emotions to come out while I was in a physical state, especially going through that elliptical left, right, left process. And then the emotions, with the physical, sort of expunged a lot of it. Didn't get all of it out of there, but it really did a whole lot for me to manage just day to day. And I would cry on the machines, or I would laugh, or I would just allow my emotions as if I was by myself. Even though I wasn't, I didn't care. I was at that point where I don't care what anybody thinks, because I'm just trying to survive day to day. Yeah.
Wow. If you don't mind me asking, how old are you now?
I'm 58. Yep.
Okay,
and
great.
When I was in that state, probably I was 45, 46 in Afghanistan. Yeah.
Wow, my goodness. Oh, wow. And so, man, had you always had like an exercise, regimen in your life, or?
Always. I mean, because I joined when I was 17, and we got the physical requirements. I was pretty good on the physical part. Mental and academic, not so well, but physical part, I stayed up, and I was able to work that and keep that going on throughout my life. Yeah.
Man, you were 17, so in the Army, right? And then
I went into the bottom. I went into the reserves. It was the National Guard. They used to call that the nasty girls. So that was a less than best organization. They would take anybody lame, lazy, or crazy at the time. And so I said, a good question is, you've got these physical problems we discussed in the book when I was coming through
Yeah.
at Austin, and they had the academic problems. I do have a learning disability. How in the hell did you get into a professional organization? Well, like I said, it was like I got my foot in the door into the reserves. There was no plan behind this, and I joined the National Guard. And I feel I did lie to the National Guard. I lied and I said I'm fine physically. I said I'm good, 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 even though I had some previous problems with my leg, my
Yeah.
osteomyelitis. As far as the entrance test, I think they just slipped me through. I think it was just a good old boy network, and they said, "Year in, we need numbers." Because I don't think I do know that I was not good on any type of standardized testing at all, or any type of testing. I knew I was bad on that. I think they just slipped me in. So I kind of slide my way into the less than best, and then work myself up from there.
But then you ascended the ranks, man. How did you get into being into leadership and supervision, and how did that happen?
So yeah, once I went to basic training at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, in 1983. I built up a whole lot of confidence. I was one of the worst privates there, and I put it this way: I just went through a lot of hell there. I came out with a lot of confidence, and I thought, I don't care about what these people think as far as going to college and being. I think I can do a lot more than I thought because I hit a level in basic training that I'd never. I graduated basic training. I'm a soldier now, even though I'm going back to high school because I had failed the first grade. I thought, you know what? There's a whole lot out there in my newly formed 18-year-old mind. I was thinking, I can do more. I know the guidance counselors and these professionals say I can't go to college, but I think I can, and I think I can become an officer. That was kind of forming and storming in my mind at 18, and I just sort of went with it. I had to join the community college where they take anybody that didn't care about your grades. I joined a junior college. I did ROTC, and then I transferred into Clemson University, a more reputable university, college. And I did it slowly. I was on the 5-year plan, not in engineering, in education, something easy. And that's kind of how I worked my way. I got what you because to become a leader, like a commissioned officer in the military, you need a college degree. Now, I could do all the soldiering skills because I was trained, but as far as the academics and getting that degree, which was a requirement, that's going to take me some work, and I concentrated on my academics. So much so that I have an entire chapter in my book called "Where There's a Will, There's an A," as in the letter grade A,
That's
and how
great.
I did it,
God.
how I went that. So that was the most. So academics and learning. I mean, right now, all your viewers could probably do a standardized IQ test or a standardized SAT test much better than me. I feel that way. And I feel that you can also change the light bulb better than me. I would be electrocuted if I changed this. But that's just me. I'm better at leading. I'm better at managing. Don't tell me to change the spark plugs or I'll blow up the engine. But I learned my strengths and my weaknesses along the way, and I learned that I'm better being in charge of people, taking care of them, and having them take care of me a whole lot.
Wow. So where there's a will, there's an A. I love that. I wrote that down, man. I'm going to use that. And but still, you were very young to be. But I guess you said that training it gave you self confidence to. You had self confidence, and you got rid of limiting beliefs at that young of an age.
I got rid of it. It was just me because I went through something called a criminal correctional facility. It was a scared straight program.
Oh my God.
It was a drug deal. So I told you I was one of the worst privates in the platoon because, like I said, the damn water was coming out of the fire hose so fast. I was like,
Oh
I couldn't,
shit.
So he said, well, we're going to send your ass to CCF and just give them a little bit more hell.
Yeah.
And they did. And it was there. The purpose of it was either to make you or to break you. Only two went. One broke. I stayed in. I come back out all bloody and beaten up and everything else. This story really does not happen anymore. I don't even think it happened then.
Yeah.
It happened to me where they just go ahead and give a different level of hell to you to see what they can. And they did it, and it worked. Maybe wired me too tight, but that's the way it was. I came back again, like I said, everybody detected a change sometimes after you go through hell, and if you make it, well, hopefully you make it through hell, you come out a little differently on the other side, and that's kind of what happened. And I said, fuck it, I'm going to college. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I don't
Yeah.
care. And so I started to challenge beliefs and systems in a way that's good and that's bad because and I said, well, I can do damn near anything, and I was starting to think that and feel that, and so that's kind of how that worked. You know.
Man, I love that about you because I have the same affliction, man. It's like I can do that. You know what I mean? It's like my affliction is that I believe I can do everything. So right now I have to decide, do I really want to? What do I have to pay the price to do that? But I definitely got rid of those limiting beliefs. But of course, that took me. I was about 45 and you learned this when you're 18. I guess that really helped your career at that point.
Well, so I still had to, yes, it matured me. It gave me strength and self confidence along the way. And then I had this rogue rebel. Now I'm sort of questioning everything. They tell me anybody tells me I can't do something, I'm actually going to do it,
Yeah.
whether it be running red lights or stop signs and driving under the influence. And I did all that stuff when I was in throughout my 20s. I got locked up a few times, but I thought, I can do anything. I thought, in many ways, I thought I was invincible or above the law, which we're not above the law, and so I had to get myself knocked down a few times to get in line. I
Yeah.
got something called a DUI while I was a captain on active duty, which means that's in a career endeavor that you're done. Your history, there's zero defect on that.
Right. Zero
We know
tolerance.
we know that, and I said, well, you know what? I'm going to challenge it. I'm going to appeal it, and I did. And it took
Good.
2 years, but it was called a GOMAR, a General Officer Memorandum of Record, not Gomer Pyle, but GOMAR, as in a memorandum of record. And it went in my performance file, and I petitioned to get it off, and I got it into the restricted file. That helped me out. I almost got kicked out. That was my second time almost getting kicked out, but I did appeal it. I had to go through about 2 inches of paperwork to say I'm a good soldier. I'm valuable to the Army. They paid, and so I had to go through that. And I said that ain't going to happen again. No more to me. And that ended that one. But really, there was just so many ways I defied the odds, whether it be education or getting in trouble and getting out of it. And I do admit in my book, I had a lot of failures and fiascos, but they were my fault. And I'll tell you what's not my fault as we go through all the crazy stories that are there.
This is so good. I hope everybody's getting this. That you got rid of your limiting beliefs when you wanted to gain rank, to become a leader and supervision, but also in the negative things or mistakes that you would make, you became an advocate for yourself. In other words, okay, I know the rules say this, and a lot of people would walk away. Okay, I messed up, and the rule says I'm out. And he says, wait a minute, I'm still valuable. I can still be a leader in this organization. So no, I'm not going along with it. I'm going to be an advocate and fight for myself because it's for the better good, right?
Exactly. And so I'm also there's a shame involved with getting in trouble
Yeah,
in the military. You face a different wind. It ain't like civilian life. You've got a different wind to face. Yes, you've got to face civilian court, but you've also got to face the military justice system. And I did that. I went before the battalion commander, stood at attention, and he told me that you've been shameful to the Army and you've got to do all this stuff. And I said, okay, yes, so I admit I screwed up. But and people, even though it's considered to be secret, people sort of know, and they say you need to stay. And so there's shame also on your left and right peers, and they're looking, you need to stay away from this character here. And but I had to go ahead and ditch that and just keep moving on forward in my life and my career. So I ditched shame as well. There's a shame involved in getting in trouble. Yeah.
that is so great. Ditch shame. I'm telling you, this, not in the same level as you went through, but I mean, I resonate with this. I had a partner in South Central LA, and we were under investigation, and it was a bunch of BS. But they taped off our car with yellow tape, and the internal criminal investigation people came in and made it clear we're not here for policy violations. All we do is file charges. Do you understand that? Yeah, I understand. And then, and all these people, your peers, a lot of the peers are like, oh man, it doesn't look good for you. You know what I mean? They kind of turn away from you really quick. Yeah.
Yeah. They turn away quick, and then that's like I'm back on my own. I'm back on the street by myself in a way, and
Yeah.
I got to start building my reputation and my character back up again. So you fall down, and then you say, well, let's just move on. Let time heal things, and you move on. do other
Yeah.
things to shoot, and then so but that's tough. It's tough to do. It's tough to, yeah.
Man, that's so good. It's so good for anybody to listen to this because, man, I like ditching shame. You had to do that, and
It's
ultimately
tough.
we had our accusers get somebody decided to bring them in, and they gave them polygraphs, and thank God the polygraph officer returned that these guys were lying about everything they said, and we were exonerated, and then as you said, you have to let time take its course, and then everything will be good, but you can't expect. And you got to ditch the shame because people are looking at you that way, right? They look at you side-eyed, right?
They're looking at you like, oh, where are you coming from? What are you doing? And I never talked about that DUI at all until after I wrote this book because I
Yeah,
had it was so locked into me not to say anything about anything
yeah, yeah.
because life is competitive. I told you I went up those ranks, and as you go up those ranks, if anybody knows anything that's sort of a little different about you,
Oh, yeah,
they're going to use that. And
yeah,
so even when I was writing this book, my wife was saying, "Are you sure you want to talk about that DUI?" I says, "Well, I'm retired. I've already got my benefits. It doesn't matter." And
yep.
that
That's
was a
right.
long, it was a long time ago. And so because we had locked it up so much, and I said,
Yeah,
"Well, let's put it out there, and maybe we can help other people with many lessons in life." Yeah.
I believe in that too. I believe in that. It's hard to be. I kind of learned that in doing stand-up comedy and stuff. I learned to be willing to be vulnerable and just be honest with people. Just ditch the shame. I like it, and because a lot of my peers are, and probably with you too, being a career service member, people just they don't talk to other people. They're not even going to reveal certain things about themselves. It really kind of limits you from having deep relationships when you're not. You got to be able to willingness to be vulnerable to other people if you're going to have a deep relationship, right?
Right. So those deep relationships occur in the military down at the bottom. Shit falls downhill, and when you're
Yeah,
down there you're dealing with all the crap that comes from above.
yeah,
Then that's where I do have some solid relationships from the very beginning. But then as we go up in the military, then it becomes more competitive, and you're more like steely-eyed, more conservative, not vulnerable to other folks
yeah,
because everybody else is trying to move up there. And but yeah, that's kind of how that works.
yeah. That which is kind of a shame that you have to do that. But I just like being. I don't even protect myself as far as a lot of law enforcement. They don't want they're hidden on social media. They don't want people to know where they can. You could find me real easy. Come and get me. I don't give a crap. But if you have to live hiding like that, I mean, I understand you have to be safe. But I'm like you. I'm an open book too, man. It's better to live that way, and I let it all out truthfully because then I don't have to worry about what I say because it's all coming from a place of truth, right?
Yeah, and I only became an open book is when I started writing a book, and I had to get. That was the hardest part was to become vulnerable to the outside world, and it nearly
Yeah,
killed me because I'm having flashbacks. I'm reliving it. I know I had a story, but for me to put a story out, I've got to come out with everything and allow it to hit the paper, and then in other words, black and white, and then form it into a book, which was really really difficult. I mean, 31 years in the military.
yeah,
They don't teach you to show your feelings really well. They teach you to lock up and do do the orders and the orders that come down, and you show strength, you don't show weakness, and that's just the way it developed. And I was pretty damn good at it, really was.
yeah.
I was really damn good at it until I got into that federal investigation. I almost broke at that time. I was like, that was tough. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about that because we had another partner of mine. We had a similar. It became like a Rodney King similar, that they couched it as. But next thing you know, we're in federal court under civil rights violations, and then all of a sudden we're sitting at the defendant's table as deputy sheriffs. You know what I mean? And man, like I said, it was just we were totally in the right, but I don't think that matters when you're going through that. I was very stressed. My partner was almost to the breaking point. I could tell. But man, tell me about your experience with the federal investigation you went through.
Okay, this occurred on duty, not in war, but it was in peacetime, South Korea. I had already been to South Korea two different times. This was my third time. In the book, I got it third time's a charm. But it was not a charm. It was not a charm, and
No, it's not a charm.
not a charm. But though that's where. So every time we move 2 to 3 years, we're still in the army, but we move into a different clique, a different political zone.
Yeah.
a different area of concentration where people have their power plays, their power politics.
Yeah.
And, I'm a lieutenant colonel. I was just newly promoted to a lieutenant colonel. I'm pretty much looking at 20 years of active duty pretty much right now, and I'm pretty set in there. I'm pretty set.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to a place where a particular researcher, I'm going to call him Ted Small, he does not like me. We do not get along. He is a recently retired full colonel. He became a contractor. He's there in South Korea, and we don't get along. He has strengths. I have strengths, but we are different, very different, and we don't mesh very well. We're in the same specialty of public health. He has a buddy who's a full colonel, female colonel that's there, and he uses power politics of his position because he had been there a long time. And basically, I walked into a turf battle, meaning a space of his, and I wasn't playing the game. I didn't show my interest to his, and we didn't get along. And it was more professional, nothing personal, no screaming, no yelling. It was more like, this is what I do. I'm better in executive leadership. I'm better at doing this and that. And he didn't like that. It was just a first. And then I found myself under two major accusations. One was real serious, which was a federal investigation. So the first one was they threw out rumors, him and his minions threw out rumors throughout a community in South Korea called Yongsong. I was a pedophile. So in other words, my daughter did go to the elementary school there on post, and I was a playful father. I enjoyed fatherhood very much, and I would play outside, and I eat lunch and I love the young phase of fatherhood very much. I'm a great father. I'm a better father than I am a damn soldier, believe it or not. And so, but they said, okay, we put it out. You're a pedophile, and the damn woman. She was the colonel. She came to my office very seriously. I don't even know the woman. I've been there 8 months, and she comes and talks to me. And she's my supervisor, and we want to stay away from her because she's like a woman on the rag in many ways. I'm kind of scared of this woman because
Right. Yeah.
she's kind of big and macho and like, oh man, I'm gonna stay. But and she comes to me and she says, I know you're good at doing the briefings at the front office, and I know that you're popular here on post. But guess what? Once they see you have a problem with children, you ain't gonna be popular no more, and we're gonna get your ass out of the army. At that time, there was a rumor that I was a pedophile on post. Well, that didn't work. That was not official. It was a rumor spread by some senior people there. Nothing happened. No investigation. I'm going to give my enemy credit when they didn't get me on the pedophile shit, which really pissed me off more than the federal investigation. So they give me so about a year later, nothing happened. Now I go up on Youngsong Garrison up near the gas station on Dragon Hill Lodge, and they tell me now I feel okay. Oh my God, I got CID, Criminal Investigation Division. I've got MI, Military Intelligence up there. I said, oh shit, maybe this pedophile shit, they got something on me. So I go up to the top of the hill, and I got my commanders in one office being briefed by a set of CID and MI. I'm in another office being briefed at the same time in two different rooms, and it was orchestrated. And I said, oh gosh, no, you have been charged with selling secrets. You have been accused of passing on information, documents to foreign nationals. And so I was sort of side hit. I was like, what? Like, what the hell? And like, no, subversion and espionage against the U.S. government. I said, oh no. I said, God, no, not at all, not at all. I says, do you want a defense attorney? I said, yeah, I want a defense attorney. This is a bunch of bullshit. And so I was totally blindsided. And like, okay, now pedophile has no words at all on that. It's all about selling secrets. It's all about passing on information to foreign nationals outside the gate. And so I went under investigation of that. So how I'm trying to build this story up is that if someone doesn't like you in the government or the military, they can play games with you and they can give out false accusations.
Correct. Yeah.
They're very hotlines. You've got a hotline for suicide, but you got a hotline for criminal activity. You've got a hotline for everything. Probably hotline for SAIDA, subversion and espionage. So somebody can leak stuff out and either to screw with you or to or get the attention of higher people.
Yeah.
I'm senior. I mean, what do they got? How can they get me out?
Hey, this guy, what rank was he when he retired? He
He was a full colonel, and he had a best friend that was a full colonel that was on active duty.
Right.
That was my supervisor. She was a butch. In other words, I don't know if she drove.
No, I know.
Davis,
Yeah, I know what
yeah.
you're talking
So
about. So
yeah,
he's a
so
colonel. He retires, gets his full benefit pension, and yet now he's going to be hired back as a private contractor.
and that's kind of normal. That happens. He still has the power play of that office.
Yeah, and why? And
Yes.
do you think why was he motivated to go after you? Do you?
My feeling was I do throughout. He feels threatened. There's something. I always knew that Korea was his baby, and
Ah,
so this is just his baby. He has a research publication like an Apocalypse Now background, academic background in South Korea, very well published, very smart, probably one of the top researchers in the world. And here I am, second class public health dude, coming up from the ranks, and I barely can write that well, and but I feel I don't know. There's a threatening, possibly and I did tell him personally. I says, what? I don't believe what you're doing. That's not for me, but you can do it. But let me do something else. And I feel that by not being with him, he took it personal. No, it wasn't personal. I just I'll let you go. Just let me do my thing, and we won't, tread on each other's toes. But that was a threat to him, and I feel that if you're not with him, then you were against him. But I wasn't against him. I really wasn't.
right.
I just wanted to be separated from him.
No, I get it. And he was probably so he's in charge there, and then he retires. Yeah, he's hired back, but even if you're a private contract hired back, you're no longer really the shot caller of that place. And now you're in more of a shot caller position than he is.
I
And
am, and yes, and I am exactly. So that's the reason. So I did I prior claimed before I went there. I thought this guy now is a contractor. In my brain, I'm
yeah,
thinking it's all good, and that's where I failed at. I
yeah,
failed knowing that it was all good. Looking back, that okay, if he was in charge, I know if he was in charge, I would not have gone back. I would not have gone back because I know I sort of plan out a little bit.
yeah.
But I said, well, he's a contractor, no problem. That was my failure right there. I went back and yeah, he still had a lot of influence, and I didn't realize it until I got on the ground and walked into the office and looked around at people, and I said, oh shit. I just could tell, animal, smell, taste. I couldn't put my finger on it, but I knew that something was going to happen, and it did. Not just one thing, many things.
This is to me. Now you let me know if I'm off base. Not to bring Trump into this, but it's like they found the man, and now we're going to search for a crime. In other words, he was targeting you, and now I'm going to search the way to get you out, right? So the rumors didn't work, and they went to the next phase, right?
They went to the next phase. That was the federal investigation. The rumor bothered me more than the actual federal investigation.
Yeah, because then you're messing.
The federal
Yeah,
investigation of like criminal, like selling secrets. I mean, God darn, like, yeah, but because they're attacking my character, my core, which is being a really good father, and they ain't. That bitch don't even have a child. That man, he already told me his damn children are all fucked up. So what I'm saying is like I'm saying I'm a good father, Now if you would have knocked me on something, knocked me on being a poor soldier or a poor writer or a poor somebody who understands, or just give me a bad evaluation. But once they hit me in those core areas of that's where my smile sort of went to sad. In other words, they had hit the army hit me with their own people. The own people hit me, not the Taliban, not I mean, and so that's where my core character, and that's where I did change. That's where I hit my post.
with
That's where
Jason.
I really
Yeah,
started to get the post. Yeah.
which is reasonable. Jason, that how evil it is. If you forget just a rumor, they've gone to such an evil place to label you a pedophile. Where I mean, criminals murder other criminals for that. And so if you're going to make that is just that. I mean, that was just evil to do that.
I never, yeah. When the woman says when she went in, she said that in my office. She closed the door and said that to me about 10 inches away from each other. I thought I was going to kill her or pass out. I didn't know. I saw red. I
Yeah.
never had been so I never hit a degree of angry that I did, and I never dreamed of killing and maiming people. Those
Yeah.
people that I'm talking about, not just for months, but for years. I had plans, I had fantasies that went on for years and years after that. That's
Wow.
how bad. That's how bad it was. And I can
Yeah.
find these folks. I'm pretty smart. I know where they're at, and I can find them. I got some money. I can hire a hit squad. I had dreams and fantasies of fucking with these people, but I had to get counseling. I had to go get some professional help.
Yeah, good.
You know,
Yeah, man, thank goodness you
yeah,
did. But it's very, unless you've been there and been kind of targeted like that, it's hard for people to understand,
yeah.
man. But
And
that's,
I'm thinking to myself, I have handled everything. Jumped out of airplanes, helicopters. I
yeah,
was in a special. I'm thinking, why can't I handle this? I mean, like, why can't I handle this like I do everything else? Why is it getting to me? I was starting to feel like all these weird feelings of. I was feeling guilty. I said, where in the hell did that come from? And I was feeling ashamed. I was feeling mad. I understand mad. I understand angry. I understand anxiety, but not other like feeling guilty. Like I didn't do a damn thing. Like why am I? So, but your emotions are going crazy, and you can't even write. You want to write on a. I could. There's no doubt I could not do my job, but
yeah,
I couldn't write down the detail. I wanted to write the details that were happening, like who, what, when, where, and why.
yeah,
That means I have to relive it, and in your mind you just want to go forward, and you don't want to even relive it because it's happening, and you can't. Because I knew if I got the details down, but that's so hard to do, especially when you're in just a survival state of mind.
right.
I
And
couldn't.
how did you
That's
get
it.
through that? Did you make it out of that unit, or how did you get through that?
Well, I went I'm drinking a lot of whiskey at that time and drinking a lot of beer, but I did go to seek mental health. Did go to the chaplain. Chaplain gave me some insights
Oh,
that
good,
I didn't, and so just gave me insights on the situation that I was in, and and that's how the counselor. Eventually, their goal was accomplished, where I was moved to another office, which was actually a blessing. Within that garrison, I went to a higher level position and got some good leaders, and I sort of got away from the situation a little
good,
bit, and
good.
it was not as dramatic. And again, I said I can suck it up, I can live with it, and I moved on. I eventually I eventually did my tour in Korea and went to go command a. Between the time I left Korea and then get my new job of commanding a unit in Afghanistan, my father was dying.
Oh my God.
My book is dedicated to my father. So that big punch to me was the investigation stuff and the rumors. Then my dad dies, number two punch. They were two solid punches,
Yeah,
different. And then going to Afghanistan, in a way, it was a minor aggravation. It was a way I felt I could possibly get out and just get into a different environment and do
yeah,
something and get away from all the bullshit. And maybe so I had 1, 2, and then a minor 3 going to Afghanistan. So but I was at a point of declaring mental health. I could have done it. I know I could have
yeah,
done it and got out of Afghanistan. But my uncle told me, "What would your dad think if you tried to do that?" And I said,
yeah,
"Okay, I'll do that." And so I started
yeah.
doing that physical fitness and trying to get some counseling, trying to get some help. And I told my soldiers before I went. One of my soldiers made this shirt, "Combat
I
Veteran."
love
This
it.
is yeah.
No, and I love. I
Yeah.
noticed in another interview you had the flag on the side, right? I want to see that.
Now
It's a
wait,
red.
that's the medical caduceus right there, the 452nd Medical Detachment, and this is the flag right there. And yeah, he made this back in 2011.
I
Still
love
there.
it.
Yeah. But no, that's where I was really. That's where accumulation of stress occurred. Right in Afghanistan, really was not to me that. Yes, we got bombed, and yes, I saw people die, but I was in a state. You got to understand, my mental state was not there. I wanted to die in war. I wanted to go. I says, you know what?
Yeah,
I'm in such a physical. I was not scared, that's not good. It's good to be scared, but I didn't care. I was the last one walking out of the tent when the bombs came in, and
yeah,
that would anger my first sergeant. My first sergeant would say, "Sir, you need to run when this shit comes in. Why are you walking out like nothing's happening?" But
yeah,
I didn't want to tell him all the crazy. I just like felt like I was in. To me, I wasn't scared. I kind of let's go ahead. I'm ready to go, man. It don't matter to me.
yeah, yeah.
And
Can't tell
so
anybody that. Yeah,
because I had a federal investigation, I was thinking about my father's death, and I didn't. I did pray to go ahead and be taken out, but that, of course, that didn't happen. But really, Afghanistan, I was in charge of maybe 18 base camps out there as far as their sanitation and our medical service support. We would get bombed 4 to 5 times a week, usually between the hours of 4 and 10 p.m. And then we would run out of the tent and go to above ground bunkers and take cover until it's all clear and come back out.
Wow.
I saw a Humvee got blown up outside the gate. Everybody pulverized.
Wow.
Really, it was not like I was a combat soldier shooting the people. I was more on support services on the base. So that's kind of how Afghanistan played out. I think the worst part, like I said, was me in the war zone fighting my demons, trying to keep
Yeah.
one foot in front of the other. Yeah.
That's right. And what happened with those? First, they hit you with those rumors that are horrid, and then they let that go. Let's try criminal charges that were kind of basically treasonous accusations. What happened with those
Yeah.
accusations?
And that really angered me. They didn't come back and say it's all clear, it's all good. No one, the lawyer, nobody says it's all good. So it was hanging in my head. I said, the lawyer says if they don't. The last words with my lawyer was like, if they don't have anything on you, you're not being brought in on anything for any court purposes. But I did. Once I left Korea, I never heard anything about it anymore. My attorney I was gone. I was out of the hair. I was out of their sights, and I was gone somewhere else. The power play, whoever the power play, those people over there, I was out. I was out of their hair, so there was no more issues. Never had any of that ever happen to me except that one time, right
Yeah.
there
Wow.
in South Korea. Yeah.
And how many years did you have in then?
Oh, I was going so on active duty, which means you're 20 years. I was approaching 20 years at that time. Once I hit Afghanistan, I went over my active duty 20 years. So I got 31 years in the military, but a lot of it's reserves. And so I eventually got out with about 24 years of active, 31 total,
Yeah.
including reserves. And so, but no, I had a whole lot of time built up, and I did think of somehow retiring early, but I'm glad I didn't quit it because it's good to stick it
Yeah.
out. Because you don't want to let the enemy break you. You don't, and they may. And that's if they were going to break me, if they were going to break, they did a good job cracking me. Put it that way.
Hey, and that's part of the stress is that you're on the brink of getting to the point where you're getting a retirement and a great pension, and then you're gonna take that away from me. You're gonna try to get me out before that happens. Is kind of most of the stress comes just from that.
Yes, and I looked at Afghanistan as a redemption in a way.
Yeah.
Me go over there, get away, actually get my combat tour out.
Yeah.
As a commander, which I'm good at. I told you I'm pretty good at commanding troops, but and I did, and we did very well. Matter of fact, Afghanistan was my best performance of the entire army. I was rated at such a wild, wonderful level. It even surprised me as far as a lieutenant colonel. And I got the Bronze Star out of there, and I got my combat patch and
Wow.
stuff, and come out there, and the Army was like, you can go in, they're giving me that secret handshake saying, you done well over there, and you can get anywhere you want to. And I said, okay. So we sort of had, it's kind of an agreement that if you do well in war zone, they're going to give you that little handshake and whatever you want to do. And we went to Germany, and I retired out of Germany, and from there, but I was really burned. I needed a whole lot of medical therapy and help to deal with the stress that I had been through that we talked about, and I had to undergo that for a period of years to try different methods and therapies. Of course, the book is also another way of therapy and getting things out there. But that's kind of how I hit my. So I stayed on past Korea to Afghanistan and then to Germany. I was on fumes. I was on fumes. I still needed. You can't just. I tried to suck it up, but you have to somehow deal with it.
Yeah. So man, that was now the Bronze Star you got. What do they give that for? I'm not sure.
Well, really, it just does if you've done your job well in combat.
In a combat zone, yeah.
In a combat zone, yeah, you get the Bronze Star, and then the award above the Bronze Star, my top award, was the Legion of Merit. That was a culmination of successful 30-something years, 31 years in the military. So that was the Bronze
Legion
Star
of Merit, yeah.
The Legion of Merit there. So that was my highest award. And so a lot of the awards you get, I'm not gonna lie to you, man, like just doing your job award and stuff like that. But some of the awards that are really out, like jumping out of airplanes, you get your parachute uh, patch, and then jumping out of helicopters, you get the helicopter thing. And so, but then the Bronze Star, that's a little different. That's combat and
Yeah.
things of that nature. So some of the awards are there just because you did your job, which I did. I for the most part, I did volunteer for extra things and so forth along the way through my 31 years. Any type of deployment or things like El Salvador, I've been to twice, and Korea, and things I would go to, and little training opportunities I always volunteered for.
That's great. And so that's good that you're willing to get, therapy, and you were willing to do that. Where there's a will, there's an A. Somebody used to tell me that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so now you retired. What year was your retirement?
2014, so I'm going
Okay.
up on about 10 years now, retired.
Yeah, me too. 2013. All right.
Okay.
That's cool, man. God, what was I going to ask you? So how are you doing? What are you involved in? Are you still writing? What are you doing?
So yeah, I've got the one that's hit number one is the Soldier Against All
Yep.
Odds. The Soldier Against
Right
All
there, right
Odds.
there. Hold that.
That's
Yeah,
hit,
beautiful.
that's hit number one in Army Memoirs multiple times because it relates with so many people, whether you're in the military or not.
Yes.
Just life struggles, ups and downs of a life in uniform, but anywhere. Now, the second you talked about, the second book, it's a more of a self-help guide for veterans. It's just back. It's
Back
out of
into
uniform,
civilian life.
Back into civilian life. It's a VA. It's kind of veterans. It's more for the people who are veterans and they want to get their benefits. And I got a small one for that, more of a self-help guide. And I'm working on a third one, which we've kind of talked about. My third one got the draft done. It's going to be on toxic leadership.
Okay.
What to do in a wicked workplace.
That's a good boy. That's going to be. You could probably coach on that.
Yeah, I probably could coach on it. And there's been so many other veterans who've come forward with their stories of toxicity and what to do and how do you handle something like I was in and what would you do now if you were in
Yeah.
something like that. And so, but there's other people. I've talked to George Reed. He's a national colonel, war college guy. He wrote the book on toxic leadership. And so I'm going to come in from my own storytelling style. We're working on that. It'll be probably another 3 months before I'm
Okay.
through it. I'm going to do the audio. So with the first book, I am on audio.
Yeah.
If you don't want to read it, it's my voice. I'm the narrator.
I heard that. Yeah.
And so my third book on toxic, I'm going to do the narration as well. Matter of fact,
Good.
practice
I did mine too. It's not easy. It's kind of hard. It took me like 10 days to do the audio, and I got a tiny book. Hey, I appreciated one of your other interviews. You were like, you weren't really VA bashing. You said there's a lot of good that they do with veterans, and I like that you were, a lot of the things they offer I wasn't aware of, but I had just seen a movie, and you mentioned the sport. It's called Mending the Line, and it was about a guy who comes back and he's tasked with fly fishing. Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that, Mending the Line.
Yeah.
He was up in Montana and fly fishing. I have been fly fishing, and whatever it takes to get your mind.
There's something,
straight.
change your focus, right? Yeah.
It could be bicycling, it could be fly fishing, it could be underwater basket weaving. But you have to try. You have to try certain things.
Got to try. See what's going to resonate with you. And what it does is it changes your focus. It changes your physiology, how you're moving your body, changes the words you're saying to yourself. It's great, man. I think that's awesome. And I didn't know they offered all these things, these winter sports, these summer sports. I know you said you're a skier.
Yeah,
and
skier. Last week I was in Aspen, Colorado. The Veterans Administration, they have the winter sports clinic in Snowmass, Colorado.
Yeah.
And you go skiing, snowmobiling. They have fly fishing. They have snowshoeing. They have whatever. I'm pretty much just into skiing now, but it's whatever makes you to get yourself a little bit healthy, get out there, and there's many tools in the toolbox, but a lot of people only want to try one or two tools and then they throw away everything else.
Yeah.
And say, well, that don't work. That means nothing works. But they haven't tried a little bit of everything. You got to try a little of everything.
That's right, man. That's good advice. You got to try a little bit of everything. See what resonates with you. Where are you in the country?
I'm in a small town called Spring Branch, Texas, which is north of San Antonio, Texas. So if you know San Antonio, I'm about 30 miles north of San Antonio.
Okay.
I'm originally from, the accent is not Texan. I'm originally from a small place called Fingerville, South Carolina. It's a small town in the northern part of Spartanburg County. and so that's where I'm originally from. But then I left there when I was about 18 or 19.
Oh my God, that's great, Jason.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love. We have a summer place in upstate New York, and when I was doing comedy, we did a fundraiser for soldiers coming back to the area there is Fort Drum in Watertown, New York, and so we would they would provide fishing trips out in the St. Lawrence River it would help. Yeah, so man, I like being part of it.
With the Veterans Administration, you told me I'm not a VA basher, but
No,
what it is. So the Veterans Administration.
I like that cover, man. That's a good cover.
When I got out of the uniform, when I got out of the military, I didn't have anybody in Germany to help me at all. There was nobody to help me put the paperwork in, so I did it myself. And I don't recommend you doing it yourself, but I did it myself, and I learned a lot. And I got my 100% disability. I knocked everything out of the park. I didn't have to appeal anything because I had my ducks in order, but I learned a lot. And I thought, you know what? I think I can write a book on. I didn't know you can go ski under the dime of the VA. I didn't know that they could give.
Wow.
I didn't know there's homes for veterans. I didn't know that there's, with wheelchairs and earplugs. There's just so many different opportunities. It's a pain in the ass. I understand it. But I just try to encourage people to get into the system and work with it the best you can. And I feel that a lot of people think, well, I don't deserve that because I'm not a combat veteran. Well, you know what? I don't deserve it because I worked in the Air Force. The Air Force.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people will start thinking that, and they don't want to apply. I didn't do anything. But really, it's you served it, you deserve it, and so I think that you ought to go ahead and apply for it. Like Social Security. Well, some people like me work in an air-conditioned office, so that means I should not apply for Social Security. So that's some people work. It doesn't matter. You put into the system, you ought to get from the system what you put into it, and
that's right.
My thought. That's my thought.
No, I agree. It's and like you said. Some people might not even know the benefits that they're allowed to have that are available to them, and you want them get involved and find out what. I don't care. You should not shortchange what you've done. If you sign on the dotted line to say I'm willing, if I have to give up my life for this country in defense of it, I don't care what you were doing, whether you were taking out the garbage. You signed on the line for that. And if you're still here, you deserve the benefits that we all said that you should be able to get. So
yes.
For sure.
Yes, exactly. And it could be a monthly paycheck. It could be your veterans benefits, your identification card for the 10% or whatever. But I would say apply for it. And I think just look into it a little bit. And I think there's more out there than you really think. It can live on past you might get survivor benefits too.
Yeah, look into that. You got to know what you might be able to, even after you're gone. Right. I want to send people. So I'm going to, it looks like you want me to just share the link to Amazon to your book, right? And
yeah, my website with all my social media handles is jasonpike.org. jasonpike.org. And the Amazon, the books are on the Amazon under Jason Pike, but you can throw that down at the bottom or somewhere on Amazon as well if you'd like to do that.
Go to jasonpike.org, and I'm going to provide all the links for the book. I'm going to be reading the book. I do have it. My wife now, who doesn't read, she listens to audiobooks, and the great thing is, and I'm going to listen with one ear also while she's listening, because I love to read or hear books that the actual author is narrating, and you do that, Jason, so I'm going to get the audio too for my wife.
Narrator and the author. The authenticity is brutal. It is raw. It is sort of like a conversation on the street with somebody drinking Coke 45. So, yeah, that's kind of how it goes.
That's good, man. You know what, Jason, this has been awesome. I appreciate your time taken with me. And I'm going to be sharing this all over the place. And hang around a little bit for a little debriefing. And, man, my brother, hats off to the service you provided for all of us. And, man, you made it through to the end. A career service of 31 years is no light matter, I'll tell you right now.
Thank you much, Cliff.
All right, brother. Hang out, everybody. You know what to do. Hey, listen, subscribe to the channel. Share this with somebody maybe in the military or going to get out of the military. I think they might enjoy the conversation that we had, and Jason certainly can be of help to you with his books and invaluable stuff that you just heard here today. You know I love you. I'll see you at the next episode.